Good afternoon. Welcome to High Noon. Welcome to New Life After Hours. Welcome. I know it's high noon as you're seeing this video, but welcome to the After Hours at New Life Baptist Church. That's not right, is it? Good afternoon. Welcome to New Life After Hours. Thank you for joining us for this podcast. As you know, those who are here, you got Miss Megan, Miss Katie, and myself. And so we're glad you're here. Sunday's sermon was called, man, I just went blank that quick.
Welcome back, guys, to episode 17 of New Life Baptist After Hours. And we have here as our regular guest, no special guest today, which is Pastor Jason, Katie, and myself. And our title for the sermon was God uses all things for good. And so Jason's going to go on and explain the sermon and what it was about.
We're in Romans 8:28. So Paul and all 275 men have been lost at sea for 14 days and ended up being shipwrecked on this island of Malta. And then, as they're gathering wood, Paul gets bit by a viper, shakes it off into the fire, and then all the people there in the island who sees it happening, they come and they're thinking that karma finally caught up with them, justice had, which we know none of that is true. All that's a false religion. But then they started listening to Paul because they knew there was something special about this man. And so from that, we see that the people on the island, somebody there had to be praying, had to be seeking God, and God used this horrible event to bring His word to all the people. And it comes from Romans 8:28. Katie, you want to read that for us?
And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to His purpose.
And so we know that Paul's called for his purpose. His calling is to go to Rome. And so he knew from being bit by the viper, knew from the shipwreck, that wasn't the end of his life because he had to get to Rome. Now, he didn't know that he'd make it there with all his body parts intact. He didn't know if he'd make it there just being carried in or whatever, but he knew that he had to get to Rome. But the Lord's using all these events to show His glory, because we kind of find out that Publius, which is the governor of the island of this Roman province here, and his father is really sick. He's got a disease. What's that disease again, Katie? Dysentery, which is a really contagious infection. And it's from sanitary purposes. And so it usually happens when you have islands or tropical areas and stuff like that. And so from this, he is extremely dehydrated. He is bleeding. And all these things are going on. And not only is he sick, but many people on the island are sick as well. So as Paul prays over him, laying hands on him, God heals him. And from that one miracle, we see that the whole island comes to him. And so we know that Paul's just not praying for him and letting him go on, but he is sharing the gospel with every one of these people. And their religion was not Christianity. Their religion was worshiping false gods from the Romans. And so they had no idea who Jesus was. But now they're getting to hear. And so we think about this, even in our own lives, when we have storms happening in our life. We think that, what have I done wrong? What horrible thing has come my way? But God can use it to reach others. Even when you're going through the valley of death and you think that your world is caving down, you have no purpose, nothing to live for now because that loved one has passed away, but the Lord's still there. And the Lord can use it to reach others for Christ through your reactions But also, God's going to use it to grow your faith, for you to depend more on Him instead of depending more on yourself. And so we see that on this island.
And that was Acts 28, 7 through 10?
Yeah.
That you went over? Okay.
Yep.
And then my questions are based more on prayer, just because I do remember you mentioning in the sermon, because someone prayed, that's why it happened. And I mean, that's what happened in your guys' because someone prayed, that's why you guys are here. And same reason for I think when you said when your dad was in the explosion that you had prayed, and then that led to you being saved and you being called here as well. So my questions were towards the prayer, because I feel like maybe not a lot of people out there know what prayer truly means, because especially here in the Valley, Catholicism's kind of identify prayer as just more rituals compared to having a conversation with God. So I wanted to start off the first question.
Well, that's a good question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
but to go along with that, like you said, through Catholicism, they do a type of prayer, right? They go into the little sanctuary area where they got all these statues, and they lighten all these candles, and they go in and they chime some prayer or whatever it is, and they're kissing the statues and they're kissing all these things. Is that truly prayer, to truly depend on Jesus? Or do you think you have to go do this? You've got to go light these candles. You've got to go kiss the feet of the statue of Jesus on the cross. Listen, Jesus is no longer on the cross. I can remember when I first became a believer, my friend for Christmas got me a cross. There was a crucifixion with Jesus on it. I felt so bad because I had to tell her. I said, I'm sorry, but I would never wear this. And she was like, okay, why? And I said, because Jesus is no longer on the cross. He is risen. And that's the reason why I can't portray that. And so prayer can mean something totally different for so many people. But prayer in Scripture is you are seeking the Creator. You're seeking that relationship. You're saying, Lord, I can't handle this on my own. I can't be lighting all these candles. I can't be kissing all these feet statues and all this stuff, because you can only do but so much. But it's never going to bring you peace in the middle of a storm.
Yeah, and I mean, that goes along with our first question, which is, what does prayer mean to you personally, and how has it shaped your relationship with God? I feel like for me, and I think I've spoken to Katie about this, which I'm still practicing on how to pray like this, but my prayer, I've tried to say it in sense of like, not asking for what I want, but asking God to show me what His will is. In sense of, like, if I'm going through something, I don't want to be there saying, "Oh God, can you do this for me?" I want Him to be like, "Can you use this for your glory? Or can you show us what your will is, whether it gets done or whether it doesn't? Whether I get this thing or don't get this thing, I want your will to be done through it." So I've been trying to practice to pray like that, but it's not easy, because of course when you go into prayer, when you're in the circumstances like storms, your first instinct is to pray to God to fix it instead of allowing God to do what He has to do. So that's something I've been working on, but that's what I'm trying to make my prayer life more speaking with Him and Him showing me who He is and what He's going to do in my life. That's what helps with and that's helped my relationship with God, in the sense of just trusting Him through anything that's coming along my way. And
through that, have you seen your perspective change? Like, it's, you've been praying and you have in your mind something that, or a way that you want it to work out, but then it doesn't. But then you see why. Like, have you had that experience?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think I remember the first time, like when our mom passed away, like my prayer towards God was, why would you do this? Why can't you fix her? Why can't you heal her? To now, like when circumstances come my way, whether it's something small, like at the house, I think there was like a little like leak in our house. And or also when I missed the plane to my work conference, my prayer wasn't, "Oh God, like why'd you do this to me? Why can't you fix this?" and anything. I just kept praying that God gave me peace and calmness through that situation, and that I was able to see what He could do through what this mistake happened towards it. And I noticed that I react differently towards circumstances. Like if something bad happens, my first instinct is not to worry and get mad. It's more to pray and just to have calmness and try to trust Him in the situations, which David noticed, and he kind of was shocked about it, because I've always reacted the other way around. So when he saw I reacted that way with that incident, he was like, shocked. He was like, okay, like he thought I was gonna explode later on or something,
Yeah.
but I just never did. I just kept on being calm about it. So I noticed a lot of change in my faith towards him, and just being not reacting a lot to a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys had anything you wanted to add towards that.
You know, I don't think there's anything wrong by asking God why. Is he obligated to answer us? Absolutely not. But, you know, because some people would tell you, don't ever question God, don't ever ask why, right? But he is our Father, and he's a good Father. And it's kind of like, if I told the boys not to ever ask me questions, just listen to me, don't ask questions, would I be a good father then? So it's okay to ask those questions. Lord, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand why my grandpa passed away. I mean, he's a pretty healthy man. I mean, he'd go anywhere.
He thought he had a cold.
Yeah, he thought he had a cold, and which he did, but his body built fluid up and had nowhere to go, so it all went to his heart. And so that's why he had congested heart failure. But, you know, and that's the thing is, yeah, Lord, why did you have to take him? Because I would love for my grandpa to still be alive to see what's going on, because he would be excited. But, you know, that's the thing is, the Lord knows what's best. You know, and I think about that when your mom passed away. And I remember going to the hospital and praying with her and talking with her. Even though she could not answer me back, I still shared with her the gospel, and I still prayed with her. And, you know, and I even told her, I said, you don't have to say anything out loud because you can't. But you just have to believe in your heart who he is. And I know you know, because me and you've talked about it a lot. Every time she'd come over to that playground, me and her sit and we'd talk. And I said, you've heard it. You know what the truth is. So it's, you know, be up to you. But I'm praying. You know, and, you know, through that, even though it was a very dark time for you ladies, and it was hard life for you guys, growing up, going from house to house and things going on. But you know what? God used every bit of that to grow y'all's faith. And your faith was kind of at a standstill until you started getting stretched, until you started getting those storms. And so becoming a Christian doesn't mean that you're going to have your best life now, that you're going to get everything you ever wanted. God doesn't want you to be unhappy, which that's not true. I mean, look at Paul. How can you be happy on the ocean, tossed around for 14 days in pitch black, don't know where you're at? And then
with a bunch of men complaining.
A bunch of stinky old men who are grumbling, who are complaining, who are, I mean, the boat must have reeked bad because they're all been throwing up, and it was bad. And Paul is an apostle, one of the greatest evangelists to ever live, and he suffered so much more than we do as Christians. We get mad and upset when the church is not cooled down. We get upset because somebody's sitting in their church seat. We get upset because I have to park 2 other spaces because somebody done beat me to church. And people get mad because, Pastor, there ain't no more coffee. Can you make coffee? Yeah, I'll go make coffee. Just give me a minute. Or, Pastor, there's no toilet paper. I need toilet paper. Da-da-da-da. You know, hey, Pastor, there's trash on the floor over there. Can you get that up? You know, and so forth. I mean, we think as Christians is we're supposed to be weighted on hand and foot, and everything's supposed to go our way because we're a believer in Christ. But that's not how it works. If we're never having storms, if we're never stretched in our faith, we'll never grow. And look at Job. Job was really stretched. And, you know, he was told by his friends, what did you do wrong? Job, you must have sinned. You must have made God really mad. And then his wife says, just curse God and die. You know, and so, and you see those things going on. But prayer is what draws us closer to him. That prayer is you guys don't remember this because y'all are way too young, but it used to be these commercials, and it was for AT&T, and it said, reach out and touch someone.
No.
Because that was their phone. That was their slogan.
Mm.
AT&T, reach out and touch someone. You know, and if you're never praying, how can you reach out and touch the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
If you're never spending time with Him, how can you ever reach out to Him?
Yeah.
And you got to have a lifeline to reach out to. Trust me, if you were in jail and you needed to post bail, you're going to find somebody to answer that phone
Yeah.
to come and get you because you don't want to be there. Well, when you're in a storm, hopefully the person you're going to reach out to is the anchor that's going to hold you still. And Paul knew that. And that's who Paul reached out to.
And that's who we need to turn to
Yeah.
in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
In our tough times.
Yeah. In tough times, even in good times.
Right.
You know, just don't use it. Just don't use that line just to reach out to them when you're going through something. Reach it when
Yeah.
you're going through great
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, we always want to turn it around as, oh, look what I did when we were going through something good. But when
Mhm.
it's bad, we want to blame the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to, you know, praise Him in the highs and the lows.
Well, most people use the thing is, Satan's tempting me today,
Yeah.
in which Satan doesn't have time to tempt us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Satan is not a god.
Mm-hmm.
Satan is a
He's not
creation.
everywhere.
He is an angel.
Mm.
He can only be at one place at one time. Jesus is God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so that's who He is. And He can be anywhere He wants because He's the Creator.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why we reach out to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And Satan's got his own little demons that go out and tempt us.
Mhm.
Satan can only be at one place. I don't have my finger on a nuke button to get ready to blow up some country. So who do you think he's messing with? Those
Yeah.
people in roles of
Mhm.
countries.
Yeah.
You know, Kim Jong-Lee, whatever his name is in North Korea, he's messing with that guy. He's messing with the guy in China, President X or whatever his name is. And he's in Russia messing with Putin. He's going to be at one place at one time. But Jesus can be anywhere. He can be in the middle of the storm. He could be on the ocean that you're lost for 14 days, being tossed around.
Mm-hmm.
He could enter right here into this room
Mm.
because He is the Creator.
Yeah.
And prayer is the most important thing in our life for us to stay connected to Him.
Mm-hmm.
In the boys' school lesson today, they were learning about not having fear and trust in the Lord. And the verse that came up was Joshua 1:9, and it says, "Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go."
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked the boys, I said, "Where is the Lord?" And they said, "With me wherever I go." I said, "So when you go, and you're panicked and you're afraid, is the Lord with you, or did He run away from you?" And they said, "No, He's with me." And I said, "Okay, so where is He?" And they kept saying, "He's with me, He's with me." And I said, "Does He ever leave?" No. And they knew it, and I told them that was going to be their new memory verse.
And which is awesome is that He's always with us, which means that no matter what we could ever do, His grace is sufficient enough.
Mm-hmm.
But our grace is so small that we can't forgive someone just because they cut us off on the highway. Or we can't forgive someone just because we're just not getting along or whatever it is.
Because they poked me.
Because they poked me.
looked
Because
at me the wrong way.
they took my parking spot.
They hit
They
me.
took my seat. Because there's no coffee.
Yeah. Brothers fighting.
Yeah, but the thing is, we joke about that, but I mean, you think about first world problems. That's the only problem we ever have in our
We're
life.
good. We're good.
Because someone took my seat, someone took the parking spot, somebody didn't make coffee, somebody didn't fill up the toilet paper, the paper towels, or whatever it is. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
We're not having to come into the church. Just imagine, what if one Sunday we had a service that not everybody can come in at the same time? We had to start having people start coming into the church at 5 a.m, and every 30 minutes, a couple more people come in. until we get everybody that's supposed to be here. And then we have a church service. It might be 6 o'clock in the afternoon before we can even have the church service. Depends on how many people we got.
Yeah.
How many of us would be willing, would be like, I'll be the last one to get there at 6. I'll take that spot.
Yeah, I think I would.
But when you have countries that do that because they can't worship, they can't meet together. I mean, in China, that's what they got to do. And they don't own a Bible. And we all have Bibles. On top of Bibles, we got a Bible on every electronic device we got. And we got access to all these websites with it. And we are just too lazy to even look at it. And here they are memorizing it, page at a time, and trading them like baseball cards.
And then, well, I was going to mention David, which it kind of goes along with the second question, which is what do we learn about God's nature through his responses, persistence, and faithful prayer in the Bible? And I was going to go and say about, I don't know if you caught in the Bible recap today, but they were talking about David and that famous story with him and Bathsheba and how he sinned against God. And what caught my attention is what she said, that he turned to God even though he sinned and God told him, I'm going to kill your first child or your child from her due to your sin. Like, he still fasted towards him. He still prayed during those days. And then afterwards, when he passed away, he still went and he still worshipped God. And she was saying, like, even through all that, he still turned to him, because when we sin, we should turn to him and not run away from him. And I feel like that just shows how, even knowing he knew something bad was still going to happen, he still wanted to pray to God and seek him and seek his will. And I don't know, it just shows a great faithfulness. And I think David's just a great example of always praying through the bad and through the good, and always praying for God's will to be shown and God's glory to be shown. So I think he's always just a great example to see that. I don't know if you guys have any ones who show true prayer like that.
I thought it was interesting when Daniel comes and tells them about this man who did all this. And he's
Yeah.
like, kill him.
Yeah, get him.
Kill him.
He's like, that's
And he
you.
goes, that is you. You're that man.
And she mentioned that because he didn't even know what he said was wrong. Do you guys think that's true? Like, you don't think he knew what he did was wrong? Or
I think that he didn't think it was bad enough to probably deserve the punishment he gets. And you think about it, as men, we don't take sin seriously. We only take certain sins seriously.
Yeah.
Like, there are churches that only take homosexuality the worst sin ever.
Oh.
But they're okay with somebody in the church living together, not married. They're okay with someone, and they won't say nothing to them.
Yeah.
And they'll be okay with it. There are pastors that will still marry them even though they live together. And what are we doing? We're not taking sin seriously. You know, we talk about this in the men's Bible study because in the Old Testament, that if the daughter was not pure on her wedding night, the fathers of the bride, father of the groom had to stand outside the house. And once they consummated the marriage and there was no proof that she was still pure and she wasn't pure, the bride and her dad was stoned to death. Because it was that serious. It's still that serious today.
Yeah.
But we kind of like, it's just nature. It's just, it's okay. No, sin is horrible in God's eyes. He hates sin. And we should hate sin.
Yeah.
The problem is, we don't hate sin enough. We kind of like, we're okay. You know, we'll sweep it under the rug.
Or make exceptions for certain sins.
Yeah.
But the reason he hates sin is because of what comes along with it.
Oh, yeah.
All the consequences that come along with it. It's not just, the Bible says this, so you shouldn't do it. Like, you know, thinking, because, you know, we thought like that before. This is just how older people think. Like, people don't need to live together because it's just not right. No, it's because of, look at what all happens when you have a child outside of marriage, or you know, you're with all these different people. All these horrible things could happen to you. It's not just, this is a bad thing to do. The Lord's trying to protect us from these things, and that's why it's a sin. It's not just, oh, don't do that, you're bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to look out for us. All these laws and all these commandments weren't to just put us in a box. It was to protect us.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't see it like that.
And David was also a man.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was known as a man after God's own heart. Even after he sinned, he was still seeking God's heart.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be the same way, seeking God.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you see the dark times, you know, that's the examples I kind of used Sunday. One was the Cornelius.
Yeah.
He's seeking God. He's praying. He's like, Lord, I want to know you. Tell me more about you. I have no idea who you are, but I know that you are real, right? And an angel appears to him, says, go get Peter. It's staying at Simon's house, the tanner. You know, bring him here. You know, and Cornelius took it serious. You know, we come to church, we don't take it serious. You know, he took it serious. He brought everyone. Just imagine, what if everybody brought all their family and friends to church Sunday? So it's a challenge to you. Bring all your friends and family to church.
I think it's just harder, though, because, well, I mean, I've tried, but they always just kind of, like, ignore us, or they just tell us, yeah, we'll go, and then they won't go.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it was back then with Cornelius. I don't know if he tricked them, or like, oh,
well, Cornelius was a man in charge. He's a centurion. He was a leader. But the thing is, they took him serious because he knew what he was doing, because he was seeking God with his whole heart. And, you know, you think about us. Do people really come to us when they're having problems? I mean, majority of Christians, nobody comes to them when they're having problems, because, first of all, they don't know how they're even doing anything, because they act just like they do. And so if you're going to act like the world and you try to come and tell me something, I'm definitely not going to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, the times are no different from Cornelius' time and this time. The difference is in Cornelius and a lot of people today is Cornelius was seeking God with his whole heart. And he knew that if he could get everybody he could in that house, that they could hear the gospel.
Yeah.
And, you know, do we just stop after one time, or do we just keep on asking? Keep on asking. Hey, let me tell you about Jesus. Hey, let me tell you about Jesus. You know, like last night, I was outside looking for the moon, because Katie called me and she goes, look for the moon. It's beautiful. So I'm outside looking for a moon. I can't find the moon at all. And it came up above the trees and down at our house. And these two Mormon missionaries come by and I go, hey, sir, will you join us Sunday at church? And I said,
what do you believe?
What do you believe in? And they go, in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And I said, what about him? And so here they come back around, and they stop me, and they start talking to me. And so I ask questions, because I want to know why they believe what they believe in, so I can go in detail, explain it to them. And then they started telling me, you know, this and that. And I said, okay. So a car was coming down the road, and I said, if I was walking out in front of this car right now and get hit and killed, how can I get to heaven? What can you do between now and that car to tell me about how I can get to heaven, get to Jesus? And they said, well, you would die, and your spirit would go into a spiritual prison, and there you would get a chance to repent and be saved. And I said,
that's crazy.
Where's that in Scripture? And they said, well, I don't know. I think it's 2 Corinthians 15 and da-da-da. And I said, okay, look, I'm looking it up. And they go, sir, we really got to get home. I said, I know, you got a curfew. They're getting ready to call your house. You're not home. You're going to be in trouble. And you're going to be an apostate to the faith. And they said, oh, no, sir, not for the first time. I said, I know. It had to happen a lot. But you'll still get in trouble. You'll still get demerits and everything else for it. And I said, let me find this, because I really want to know. And the guy goes, I ain't got time for this. We don't see eye to eye. And I said, I ain't even told you what I believe in yet. I was asking questions about your faith. And they said, well, we don't have time. We're not going to see eye to eye. The guy goes, I don't feel good. I'm going home. Bye.
Wow.
And I said, that's very loving. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day. But, you know, and the thing is they knew that they couldn't explain it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't asking hard questions. I wasn't saying that, you're wrong, you're wrong. I was saying, tell me why you believe that. And that's the problem with the majority of Christians today. They can't explain why they believe in Jesus. And so when you can't explain why you believe in Jesus, I'm not going to join you at church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I think this is the reason why it's different for us, maybe, than it was Cornelius.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because Cornelius been seeking God.
Mm-hmm.
And God appeared to him, an angel appeared to him, say, hey, listen, go do this.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, let me tell you, I was been praying, I've been seeking God, and this angel from God came to me, said, go send for a man named Peter and Joppa who are staying with Simon the tanner. And I've sent these guys, and he's on the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would you start saying, okay, now listen, I think I want to go see what's going to happen. There is no way that God appeared to him,
Yeah.
sent him to Joppa to find this man named Peter at Simon's house. How do you even know who Simon is?
Yeah.
And they like that guy, like phone directory, and they like that guy Facebook, social
Yeah.
media to find out if this guy really exists.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going all the way to Joppa just to see if there's actually a man named Simon there who has a house, a business doing tanning, and then a guy there named Peter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so people are coming.
Yeah.
And so, and they say, well, you know what? I think Cornelius is on to something.
Mm-hmm.
And if we started really living our faith, maybe like Nathan,
Mm-hmm.
Nathan's living his faith.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He's asking David questions and said, what should we do?
Yeah.
Same as asking those guys last night questions.
Yeah.
And he gets mad. Those men got mad. Why? Because they realized that they were in sin.
Yeah.
And they knew that something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's the importance of us living the faith if we're going to be inviting people.
Yeah.
Because people are going to look for that.
Also, going back to David, too, the Lord kind of like redeemed him after that, too,
Yeah.
because he made it right with God. So he married Bathsheba, and then she got pregnant again,
Mhm.
and it was a son that he just adored, and it
Yeah.
was Solomon who eventually built the temple.
Yeah.
So it was, it
And
was a
Solomon
big,
has some issues too.
well, yeah. But, that was like, yeah, they lost their first child, and, he did things that were wrong, and he did sin, but the Lord redeemed
Yeah.
them out of that.
And
So,
what's interesting is, if you think about it, okay, Solomon wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, right? And Solomon says in there, he goes that it's better to die as an infant than to live your life and have a house full of kids and not live for the Lord.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you think about it. I mean, was he referring back to his brother who passed? I don't know. But it makes you think, right? I mean,
Oh, wow, yeah, that's true. That's very interesting.
because a lot of people are like, oh, that my child who passed away at such a young age. Well, he wasn't at the count of
accountability.
yeah, that's
age
the
of
word. My brain went
accountability.
blank.
I can't even
It's
say
a-
it right. Age of accountability.
There you
Account-
go.
Accountability.
There
Yeah.
you go. And so, and they're in heaven now, just like
Yeah.
we have 2 children in heaven. They're not children, they're adults, because that's a topic for a different podcast. But Jaden and Addison.
Yeah.
When we get to heaven, we will see them. We'll know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they're there. And we rejoice in that. Were we sad? Yes. So we still sad thing about yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have 3 kids. We have 5 kids. We have 7 kids because we got you and Desiree, right, and so forth. And actually now we got 9 because we got 2 son-in-laws, David and Isaac. And so our family just keeps growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's what we see. And so, we've got to really truly live as Christ and be excited for it enough that we tell people truth and we actually live it.
Yeah, exactly. And we keep going to David, back against David, but to that story too, also one thing that caught my attention was when God was talking to David, he said that I've given you everything, and if you thought this was too little, I would have given you more. Like, I feel like God provides everything for us, and we don't see it because we're so blinded, like how David was blinded by his lust. But God's given us everything, and if we just and I think it's in James 1:5. If we just ask for wisdom, He will give it to us generously. Like if we just call on to God and ask Him to show us the wisdom or to make us content or just anything, like he would give it to us. He's not a genie, of course. He's not going to give you $1 million like we always preach. Like if we say I want $1 million, God's not going to do that. But He will get you through His will, and He will show you what you have and what you need, and help you be content towards it. And I don't know, that part just reminded me of how God is very gracious to us and very generous to us, but yet we're so blinded, like how David was through his lusts and everything. But let me just go on to the third question, which is, I don't know if you want to tell the story you had told in the sermon, but it was, have you ever experienced a season where you had to keep praying even when it felt like nothing was happening, or have you ever had an experience when someone else's prayer had a major impact on your life? Because I know you mentioned in the Campito someone was praying, and then that's when you guys went over there and were able to preach.
Oh yeah, well, because Mount Pleasant came down on mission trips, and they had nobody here to lead them for mission trips. They had our neighbor, and he was supposed to went out and invited people to the park for VBS, which I understand. People just ain't gonna come out, and you're gonna be at a park, and people are just like, yeah, whatever.
It was hot.
Yeah, it's hot. It's the middle of summer. I understand. And so that didn't happen. And so the team was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. We ain't got nobody. Well, like I said, Pastor Kevin and Tom went out in a van looking for places to have VBS at, and they were praying. And then they turned down this little U-turn road right there, right close to Northbridge Elementary School. And here's an old woman mowing her yard in the middle of the day, and 100+ degrees outside. And she cuts the lawnmower off, walks right straight to them. And if you talk to Pastor Kevin today or Tom, they will swear up and down they believe that was an angel there that day.
Oh, wow.
And I've been by that house several times. And I actually delivered to that house one day, and I asked the lady about it. She said, I don't know who lived here before. I don't think anybody's lived here for a while, but we just moved in here.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, okay. So who knows?
Yeah.
But they believe that she stopped the lawnmower, walked over to them, and didn't question, just walked straight to them. And they rolled the windows down, and they said, we're looking for a place with kids to do VBS. And she said, you go over to Campito right behind Northbridge Elementary School, coming off Texas Boulevard, and there's a ton of kids there. And that's how we ended up there. And there was a lady there named Kika, and she lived in those, second set of apartments as you turn down that street, right next to the wall apartment where Vanessa and them used to live.
Okay.
Right there, before they moved to the backside or next where you live at.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's where we did VBS at, and Kika would come, and she said she'd been praying and praying for somebody to bring the Word of God to the people there. So she was building her house over somewhere off mile 18th Street. I don't know where at exactly. But, but she never attended church. She came to Bible study a couple of times, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But, she was praying for somebody to come. And so we see Cornelius praying for someone to come. We see the Ethiopian eunuch who is praying and reading Isaiah, and God brings Philip to the middle of the desert to see a man on a chariot. I mean, we have a hard enough time believing and having faith to even come to church to experience God, because we think we got to have the lights, the show, the full-blown concert series going on. We think we got to have the chill bumps up our arms and everything else for us to experience God.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just think about it. God says, Philip, go to the middle of the desert. There's a man there you got to see. I mean, it doesn't come with GPS.
Yeah.
He didn't have nothing. And there he is. I mean, did the guy sit there and wait all day long waiting for him to get there? I mean, I don't know. I mean, God's timing is perfect. What if Philip stopped a couple times before he got there?
Yeah.
Which he could have. He'd have to stop, get break or something, right? And so that's faith, because he's being obedient, and God's going to orchestrate the exact time.
Yeah.
Well, nothing happens. God doesn't let anything happen unless He planned it that way.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's already got it. Just like last night, I called you about the moon. He knew those people would be out there. You'd be talking to him.
Yeah.
Now that made an impact on Wesley too, because he was talking about it still today. Hopefully, it made an impact on them, and maybe they'll be thinking.
And these
about
were
it.
2 new missionaries in the Morning
Wow.
Faith, because I've not seen these 2 guys on bikes before.
Yeah. So
But-
you know, the Lord lines all
Absolutely.
stuff
And
like
just
that.
think, what if we just come to church, just say, Lord, I'm coming to worship you. I don't care if it's hot. I don't care if I don't like the songs. I don't care if Pastor Jason is long-winded. I don't care if he mispronounces everything under the sun, because I'm there to worship you.
What if we did that every day?
Exactly.
What if we woke up
did?
every day?
And
Lord,
li-
use me. Show me what you want from me today.
Yeah.
what would
Every
happen?
day.
Yeah,
I don't know. It'd be something.
I have found a new song that speaks about that. I think I showed you about it. It was called "Easy" from Elevation Rhythm, and that's the whole song. It was saying like it's easy for us to have a connection and worship with God. We can have it in our car. We can have it in this room. Anywhere. It's just us being with God, but we just make it harder on ourselves to reach Him.
Because we want the GPS map.
Yeah, I need the
We,
GPS.
we want it all our way.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you think about it. I don't know how many times I get people who who come and just tell me their way, how they would do ministry, and how we need to do this and we need to do that. I've had people come to me. This one lady came and I was talking about raising money for the church years ago. And she said, Pastor, can I meet you Monday morning in your office? I said, sure. So she came and she said, you could do a 5K. You could raise a lot of money in 5K. And I said, that's a wonderful idea. We can do that, but I need you to organize it, and I'll get the people to help you. She never came back.
Never came back.
Never came back.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people have the ideas. People they want it their way. You know, some people's ideas, you know, I've been told before that, you know, singing with tracks is church karaoke. And I'm like, okay, I don't care what you want to call it. We're worshiping God.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, we don't have the talent that can play all the instruments, you know. But you know what? In God's time, it'll happen. But right now, it is serving a purpose. Because we come here, and you got to think about it. For many years, we only had a couple people at first singing, and that was it. And now we have to have 2 teams, and we could probably break them down into 4 teams if we wanted to. But we got 2 teams, and you got total, each team, what, 6 people, 7 people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Now,
14
Isaac, as I
people.
remember.
Yeah, that's 14 people who are out there willing to serve God. To me, that's a miracle. That's wonderful. I don't care if we have the fog, the lights, the drums, the guitars, the bass, the saxophone,
I was gonna say,
the
we
clarinet.
started with just the songs, with the first artist singing in the background, and Katie was leading it, her by herself. Remember with us in that other church?
Oh, yeah.
The kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now to have a whole choir, I don't know, that's amazing.
It is. And to me, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
To me, that's God at work.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the way that I would want it to look? I mean, trust me, I have thoughts like, man, I wish the church would be packed. What it would feel like to have 400 people in this church on a Sunday.
That would be amazing.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah.
How wonderful would it be to have a problem trying to park everybody? Man, that'd be great. You know, what if we took enough money in the offering every week that we could pay our bills and still have money back and still be able to go out and do outreaches with it?
That would be
I
awesome.
mean, that would be just wonderful. But you know what? The Lord hasn't blessed us with that. He could. But until then, are we going to have faith and trust in Him and serve Him, even if it don't look how we want it to look?
And also, it doesn't mean that we stop praying.
Exactly.
Because if you had stopped praying for a church building, would we be here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Maybe we need to pray more for our church.
Not maybe, we do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying maybe because it's just...
I know.
yeah,
But
I
we
know.
do. We
I
do.
know. Just, you know, just being mean to me. But no, I mean, we do. We do need to pray more for our church. We need to pray more for our family and friends to be in church. You know, seen a couple at the eatery the other night. I cannot place them. I know they've been here. I think they might have been some of your friends. But
I think it was you.
she said,
No,
Pastor
no,
Jason. I went, oh, hey. You know, and they said, oh, I've been seeing things on Facebook, and it's been great. I cannot I place their names. I know them, but I just can't place their names at all. And so I invited them to come. And they said, well, we got our church we go to. I said, I know, but hey, one time visiting us ain't going to hurt you. We'd love to have you.
Like
You
you're
come
talking
worship.
about Sam, like my cousin? Or no?
Mm-mm.
No, it wasn't your cousin. But I said, but we still would love to have you come join us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's, you know, I love for everybody to come. It don't mean you have to jump, you mean leave your church to come. But, you know, just come and just be a part of worship and growing together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if we just stop trying to be how I want it to look and say, just like you said,
Mm-hmm.
Lord, how do you want it to look?
Mm-hmm.
Lord, how do you want this service to look? Does it have to be a 3-point sermon with a joke in the beginning, a joke at the end, or in the middle of it, and a fire, hell, and brimstone at the end? Do we have to have an altar call at the end? Or can we just praise and worship you? Lord, is it okay that I'm sweating in church? Is it okay that my seats are kind of squeaking like they're going to break? I mean, I sat down beside Matthew and I thought that the whole thing was going to break on me. I'm going to have to look at that pew.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get rid of it probably.
Yeah.
But
I heard this week.
it was bad. I thought I was on the ground. That would have been an embarrassing moment.
I know.
But, I mean,
I know.
you're just, why do we have to have it look
Yeah.
any particular way?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just come with our hearts and mind open to worship and to grow in the Lord and to pray for that? You know, I think about my first sermon ever preached. It took me 5 minutes.
To preach it or to
Yes.
write it?
5 minutes. And I was
He was
finished.
so nervous. He just read it and
I
he was like,
cannot
okay.
see that.
5 minutes.
I don't believe
In the
that.
mission house?
No, it was at the adult daycare center
Oh.
thing.
Here in the web?
No, it was on mile 14 and a half.
Oh, when he had asked you to come speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 minutes. And
And we
I had
just-
you sing a song at the end of it.
Yeah.
Was it Forever? No. I can't remember the song name now. You used to play it all the time when Wesley was in your belly.
You mean Caleb?
Was it Caleb?
Yeah, if it
Yeah,
was over there.
Forever Jones. Or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
What was
yeah.
it called?
What was that song? I don't know.
Anyway, but I had Katie sing. But I was trying to get my sermon to kind of look like a Francis Chan sermon.
Or like Kevin.
Or like Kevin.
Yeah.
And that's when the Lord showed me that He didn't call Francis Chan. He didn't call Kevin Brown. He didn't call David Platt or MacArthur to the valley to preach. He called me.
Jason Church.
Yeah, and so that's the reason why I have to do my sermons how I do them,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how God's called me. That's how He created me.
Yeah.
And so, what if our church doesn't look like a huge mega church worship service, or I don't get up there in some skinny jeans and a big leather coat around my waist and shake my hands in the air like I just don't care,
You could.
you know, and just
Yeah.
sit there and talk to you and give you one verse and go home, you know. And He didn't call me to sneak out the back door and leave and not talk to nobody. He called me to be the shepherd and the pastor and to teach how He's called me. And so I believe in a church we need to start praying for the rain, praying for the harvest. It just hit me. Just started thinking about it. Remember Facing the Giants? Have you seen Facing?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the guy that's blind walking down the hall against the lockers and he's praying over all the lockers in school? And the guy goes, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm praying for rain." And he says it's kind of like a farmer. A farmer is not only praying for rain, but he's working his fields to prepare for the rain. And it says, I'm working the fields and preparing it for the rain, for the harvest. And then I think the next scene or whatever, a revival breaks out, and there's prayer groups all over the whole campus, and they're all grouped together praying and crying and everything else. And then you have a guy who goes to his dad and he apologized for being a horrible son. He has Coach Taco, remember? Because the Holy Spirit done came upon him and convicted him. And, you know, that's what we need to do as New Life. We need to start praying for the rain, but we need to start preparing the fields for the rain.
I mean, that was actually my last question was, how would you encourage anyone who feels like they're experiencing a season that they're praying but they don't feel like God's calling them? Or how would you encourage the church in general? Like, because right now you're saying like all of us don't see a lot of people coming in or worship service. How would you encourage our church to keep on praying for that?
We need to prepare the fields for rain. Because we're really not preparing the fields.
In
sense of we might just be praying.
Just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, we're praying. Lord, hope today we have some people. But
what are we doing
Monday
here?
through Saturday, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know,
are we getting things ready?
Are we getting ready? Are we praying? Or you know what, you're saying, hey, Pastor, can I come help clean the church? Can I help come prepare this? Can I, you know what, hey, I can be there on Saturday morning and is it okay if I come Saturday and clean? You know, or whatever. Or, hey, can we go out knocking on doors?
Yeah. Or about fundraising. Hey, I've got this fundraiser. I'll set it all up.
I want to have some people that can be willing to. We need to do some fundraising. We need to
do the 5K one.
Yeah.
I really want to do that one.
Well, we should.
Talk to Nikki about it. Me and her can tackle it together.
We should. We can get that and knock that out, and we can do. We need to do some plate sales. We got to do one before July because we got 2 mission trips coming in July. And so we got one, Pastor Matt from Olivet's bringing a group of men down who's just going to be focused on teaching us as the church, teaching us how to truly share the gospel and to go out and reach others. See, those are men who are praying and preparing the fields for rain.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coming down in July is preparing us to get ready for a great harvest.
Yeah, because this church hasn't been here in how long? I think
since the flood, since 2020 or 2019.
Yeah, 2019 was the last time.
Since it came down.
But you know, they had a lot of stuff going on too, and so forth. But he wants to get the team down. But he's got these group of men that he's really pouring into, and this is a great opportunity for them to come and teach. It's kind of like, you know, we got a great group of men, you know, with Isaac and David and Eric and Hector. I mean, these men are hungry to teach, hungry to be there. Yeah. Hector hadn't taught yet, but he said he would.
He would be good. I can see him.
And so, and those are, and James, you know, and James been teaching. Well, he's got a hunger to do it even more. Yeah. And so, I think we are preparing for the rain. We just need to keep preparing even more. Yeah. And so, as a church, even though you've not seen things move, you know, because I remember 2018, 2019, we had more people. But you know what the sad thing is? Even the offering wasn't that great even then too. And so, you know, our offering has gotten better this year, even from last year. But, you know, we had some tough spells there, and it was, you know, it's childbirth pains and stuff, and because we're a very young church, and you know,
and an old building that requires a lot of money.
You know, and you know, unfortunately, you know, we've been blessed. It's not unfortunately blessed with a beautiful property and all this for us, but the hard part of it is now we got to keep it up, and the things we got to keep up isn't what we can take up on a Sunday morning to fix. You know, this one EC unit's $40,000. And we've collected money. We started last month, which done good, but we had the AC breakdown in the Sunday school classroom, which was $450. We had the gym one breakdown, which was, got the bill for that one, it's $2,100. So that pretty much takes what we took up last month for a fundraiser to repair those. Because the whole fundraiser is to repair the ACs we got and to buy a new one.
But God still used it. I mean,
yeah, he's still using it.
At that time to be able to fix that. It's kind of cool.
Absolutely. And he's provided every dollar for it. So it's not coming out of the general fund.
That's It's real good.
And so, and that's great, but it's kind of, in the flesh, you're like, man, I can't get ahead at all. Right?
But then it goes back to this same verse. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be frightened, do not be dismayed, for the Lord is God is with you wherever you go.
And that's why I tell David, I'm like, because he has that same too, like, if something he spends, he's like, oh, like, I had to spend on this. I'm like, but God blessed you with that money, so you could take care of that. Imagine,
and we have countless times where that happened.
Yeah,
countless.
I know. You guys told me those stories.
And I mean, and then, but we still get dismayed, and we should not be dismayed. Like this is, like we just easily,
we should rejoice.
Yeah.
I rejoice when they're paid for those things. But you know, and God's at work. You know, He's got something bigger planned.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where we got to really just be faithful and know that He is Lord.
Yeah.
And it's going to be some suffering. This weekend will be some suffering. Sunday it's going to be extremely hot. It's harder in the valley this weekend than it is in Sahara Desert in Africa.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A few fans going then.
Yeah, it's supposed to be over 106.
Now I know.
And Sahara Desert's like 103 this weekend. And so it's harder here than the Sahara Desert, which is kind of crazy.
Fans on the stage.
Yeah, but you know what? We're still going to come. We're still going to worship. I will be burning up.
Hey, maybe there's a reason we're worshiping with the windows open.
Yeah.
I can hear you preach outside.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I went outside and checked on the Sunday school class when y'all were singing.
Nice.
And so, which is great. You know, and maybe people driving by and hear it and want to come see a part of it.
Yeah.
We just got to be faithful, stay truthful, and even though we might not see prayers get answered right away, but it's not our timing, it's His timing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we try and make it all about our timing. So we need to stop looking towards things with our timing and start looking at it with God's timing.
You had anything you wanted to add about, like, when you have those moments of you praying but God's not answering fast enough, or in your eyes not fast enough?
Just be consistent, and just like that verse, don't be dismayed, because the Lord is with us always, and He will, if we ask Him to show us His will, or to help us understand His will, He will, you know, He'll make our hearts align with His will. And it brings us back to David again. He wanted to build a temple for the Lord, for the Ark of the Covenant. And the Lord told him not. He said, I've been around here, or it's been around here, not sheltered or anything. Like, you don't need to do that. It'll come in a later time. So, you know, maybe we're preparing this for a later season, you know? So, it's okay. We just have to be consistent and keep praying and just be faithful.
Yeah, I would say using that moment that God's not answering your prayers as a way to just grow with Him. I know Eric mentioned it in the last podcast. When those moments happen, the best thing to do is just serve others. Like how he said, as waiters wait, you guys should be serving others as well. So I think just serving the church, serving others, and just trying to grow a relationship and seeing God's faithfulness and goodness in other things rather than your situation that you're praying for. But I believe that's our last question. So we'll end the podcast here. Again, we do invite you guys to come join us on Sunday sermons, 9 a.m. Spanish, 10 a.m. Bible study, and 11 a.m. English. We do have amazing sermons and that just bring more insight into your faith, into you learning. I mean, again, you guys got to hear about prayer and how we view it and how it should be viewed by God. And this is discussed in Sundays as well, so if you guys like to join us. On Wednesdays, we have Bible study at 6:30 p.m., which we are going to Colossians. And then in that one, too, it's more interactive, more smaller groups, so you're able to ask questions, talk to others, and grow in fellowship. And then we do have Thursday night Bible study for men's, women's, and then we have karate on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you guys like to join us for those as well. And if you guys can like, subscribe, and share this to anyone who needs help in their prayer life, or if you guys just found this very interesting, you want to share it out to everyone else, do so. And I believe that's going to be it. So you guys can say bye.
Bye.